Hello. I went to the Dragonmeet convention recently, and it was an amazing day. But perhaps one of the most amazing things about it was the Bring and Buy sale, a collection of second-hand games, boxes, bits of stuff, all of this gaming ephemera that members of the con, attendees, had brought to sell. They dropped them off, they were priced up, and then anyone could come in and take a look and see what they fancied. Amongst the boxes and books, I came across a bag, a sealed bag, this bag, and it had a price tag of £175. The only indication of what might be inside it were 3 photographs that were taped to the front. And those photographs, well, they showed off some of the coolest Citadel miniatures from the 1980s that were ever made. But even after asking members of staff at the con, no one could confirm what was actually in the bag. It had been dropped off sealed. So that left the question, do I take one enormous, expensive punt on a mystery bag that could contain nothing at all? Or could it contain perhaps the greatest treasure hoard of 80s Citadel miniatures I have ever seen? I'm Jordan, this is Jordan Sorcery, and today we're finding out what's in the bag. Okay, so confession time. This is the second time I've actually made this video. You see, after that awesome day at Dragonmeet, I had to come home to Manchester from London, and that meant that I had to get a tube, a taxi, and a train, and between the 3 of them, I experienced delays, diversions, and cancellations, which meant that this was probably the longest journey I personally have ever taken from London to Manchester, and sadly that's to be expected in this fully functional island we call home right now. But it probably wouldn't have been so bad but for having standing room only on the train back, and my place to stand was just outside the broken toilet door. So this was a pretty rough journey, but I was smiling all the way because I knew that when I got home, I was going to be opening this bag. So I rushed in when I got back to Manchester. I said my hellos, I sat down, I started recording, and I opened the bag, but I'd completely messed up my sound setup. So, unfortunately, that video is pretty rough going itself as well. But I was able to salvage certain bits. So, right now, I'm going to show you the opening moment where I actually unseal the bag, and you can hear my reaction. Unfortunately, and you'll have to bear with me here, it doesn't sound great, both because the sound situation, my setup, is totally wrong, but also my reaction is a little bit maybe embarrassing, I guess. But here you go. Okay, so here we go. I'm opening this package. Let's decant the contents. Okay, it's looking like, if it is just nonsense, it's a lot of big rocks. Okay, so what do we have? Holy moly. This is the real deal. This is actually... Oh, I mean, this is a Chaos Dwarf Renegade. We've got some original... Oh my gosh. Is this a Dwarf Lord of Legend? We've got one of the original Chaos Familiars. Oh, wow. What? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I mean... Wow. Original Jez Goodwin Skaven. What is that? Like a big dude? Oh, yes. A Jez Goodwin Ogre. A Bigfoot hero clicks? I don't want to damage anything, but I also really want to see what's in here. Wow. Oh my word. More Jez Goodwin ogres. More Jez Goodwin Skaven. Having confirmed that there is, in fact, a mountain of metal and plastic and all kinds of amazing nonsense inside this bag, my intention had been to catalogue absolutely everything and then talk you through that full list. Now, I still want to do that, but it's going to take a while because I hadn't really accounted for just how much stuff is in there and how much history so much of it has. These are miniatures that go right the way back to the start of Citadel. Some of them are, well, all of them are amazing, but some of them just have these really deep and rich stories that I kind of want to explore in more detail. So, I'm not going to be able to do that all in one go, and certainly not in time for this video. So, what I am going to do is a quick overview of all the coolest metal stuff that's in there, and then I'm going to call out a couple of the miniatures that really speak to me, that have just really made me excited about this collection. Unfortunately, in a way, because there are so many classics in this bag, I haven't been through everything and catalogued it all individually, but I have identified some of the miniatures, and there are some real cool things here. There are members of the Dwarf Lords of Legend box. There is a Chaos Dwarf Renegade. Members of the Regiment of Renown, Mighty Ujzods, Death Commandos, Black Orcs, Jez Goodwin Skaven. There are minis here from the TSR AD&D range and the Lone Wolf miniatures as well. There are High Elves and Dark Elves from the earliest range, some of the Orcs from the Chronicle series, the limited edition Warlock miniature that was created based on John Blanche's art. There is the body of an Umberhulk, the AD&D creature that would go on to become the Amble. Chaos Wizards and Sorcerers, all sorts of stuff here. There's even this absolutely massive, I don't know, is it a Roman-looking sort of soldier? It looks like a statue that has come to life to track down Jason and the Argonauts. There's Shilob Carcass Breath, the Hobgoblin Berserker. Nori Skullspearer, Vordak. Wilhelm, the Lord of Battle. Uther, the Dwarf Lord of Legend. The body of a Manticore. A Skaven Plague Monk. A Chaos Warrior simply called Ambidextrous. And that's not even including the Wizards of the Coast plastic miniatures from the early 2000s that are in the box as well, and some cards from some D&D game. So, of course, given that this is early Citadel stuff, there are amazing miniatures in here from Bob Naismith, Nick Lund, Ali Morrison, and lots of really amazing Jez Goodwin stuff. One of my favourite sculptors who sculpted some of my favourite ranges. Of course, the Skaven speak to me incredibly. I really love those guys, and part of me wanted to call out one of those, but I also thought, you know what, there's a miniature in here that I have long wanted to hold and to own, and that is Rothiog, the Ogre Captain. Just a really good, iconic villain from the Warhammer world. Jez Goodwin sculpted a range of giant ogres in 1985. They were called giant, presumably because the previous ogre miniatures had been a bit more regular sized. But that 1985 range included 8 giant ogres. It wasn't until 1986, though, with the second wave of miniatures that Jez Goodwin produced, that we would meet the ogre captain, Rothiog. Captain of the horrible ogre pay swords, Rothiog's name ranks alongside that of Goldfag as the most infamous mercenaries ever to serve in the bloody Dwarf Goblin Wars. The two rivals fought in all the major battles of those wars, usually on opposing sides. To honour their god, the Great Moor, it was the custom of the ogres to finish a battle with a great eating match, the winner claiming the Belt of the Eater, the greatest trophy of the northern clans. During one such binge, Rothiog became the only ogre to out-eat Goldfag by devouring an entire halfling village, including livestock, and a haystack to prevent constipation, in a match lasting 3 days and 3 nights. Rothiog has been the holder of the sacred belly guard ever since. Rothiog appears in loads of classic art, including this great John Blanche piece. And although it has had a few names over the years, this inspiring work by Blanche has sometimes been called Hrothjog's Tower, presumably depicting the great base of this infamous brute. The other miniature that I wanted to dwell on is at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the scale, from Hrothjog, the ogre. This is the Mystery Imp. When I decided I wanted to talk a bit about this guy, I actually didn't realise who had sculpted him. I just remembered collecting all of the old Chaos Familiars via mail order back in the day. But I shouldn't be surprised, really, because much like many of my old school favourites, this Mystery Imp was sculpted by Jez Goodwin as well. By 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy, there were a large number of familiars, and they could be taken to empower Chaos Sorcerers with more spells, more cards, or as a miniature guardian to protect them in battle. We've obviously seen more familiars over the years, including with one of last year's Warhammer Plus subscription models. Basically, I think these familiars are just outstanding little guys. So this video isn't really the video that I imagined to myself on that terrible train journey in between bouts of Pendolino madness and having to tell every passerby that the toilet door was broken. But the contents of the bag, they were everything I imagined and hoped for. Absolutely fantastic. I am so pleased that it turned out to be the real deal. Just a real win for me. It was exciting, it was great, and it's been rewarding too. So thank you to whoever it was that left this bag of miniatures and made this choice of presenting them in that way. I've found it to be really, really fun. A big success. I know that some of the miniatures in this collection are actually things that my friends have wanted for a very long time. So I suspect that a couple of the miniatures in here are going to go into Christmas stockings. And I'm also going to look for some ways to give away some of these miniatures to my followers, to subscribers on my various social media platforms in the new year. I'll also be documenting the history of these miniatures in the new year as well on my social media. So why not follow me on Twitter, Instagram, BLUESKY, Threads, basically all of them. And I will be posting what I discover about the history of some of these amazing miniatures into 2024. Thank you very much for watching. I am Jordan, and this is Jordan Sorcery. I'm pretty confident that this guy is a gruff, no-nonsense veteran watchman who's 1 week from retirement. And this guy is a smart aleck new recruit straight out of the academy who wants to make a name for himself. And they've just been partnered up on the mean streets of Altdorf. Are you telling me that you wouldn't watch all 10 seasons of Ogre and Imp on Netflix?